Good morning. Welcome to the forecast discussion for July 3rd, 2012. Happy 4th of July weekend for everyone out there. A little bit early, but there won't be a video tomorrow, so happy 4th of July, a little bit early for everyone out there. Now, as we look at the temperatures for this morning, you can clearly see we are much cooler and much drier than what we were yesterday. But you can already see the heat island effect influencing parts of Philadelphia, where temperatures are about 10 degrees warmer than the surrounding region, with temperatures in the lower to mid 70s. Meanwhile, the rest of the northern mid-Atlantic ranges from the upper 50s to mid 60s for temperatures this morning, with very comfortable conditions out there. Dew points rather low in the mid 50s, so a few upper 50s around, and a few lower 60s right along the immediate coast. So for the most part, we're dealing with clear skies and very comfortable conditions out there. So let's take a look at the water vapor satellite picture. And I noticed a few interesting things that I want to point out here. First of all, you see this right here. This is the base of a trough that is pretty much focused over the Canadian Maritimes. This is important because this base of the trough is going to cause what's called convergence in the upper levels of the atmosphere and causes sinking air. You can see some of the black color here expanding over the northern mid-Atlantic. That basically means dry air is sinking over the northern mid-Atlantic, and that's going to suppress the development of thunderstorms for today. So I'm expecting dry conditions, low humidity. Temperatures are going to spike once again into the upper 80s along the immediate coast, lower to mid 90s away from the coast, especially in the New York City and Philadelphia metropolitan areas. Your urban locations are really going to warm up nicely due to the urban heat island effect. But the key here is that humidity will remain low, and for the most part, conditions will remain dry. Now, a few isolated disturbances might produce a very isolated thunderstorm, especially over portions of Connecticut, the Hudson River Valley, perhaps even northern New Jersey. But I think most locations will remain high and dry, perfect beach conditions for this afternoon. However, this warm front here is going to eventually be on the move, and by this evening you'll notice a nice increase in the humidity, and especially by tomorrow morning, dew points should be in the mid to upper 60s for most locations, with our low temperatures by tomorrow morning in the lower 70s, much warmer than what we're experiencing this morning. And so as a result, tomorrow should be a lot more humid, with hot and humid conditions expected by the afternoon, and of course a threat for an isolated thunderstorm here or there. Now, you see this right here? This is what's called an MCS, and this type of complex, when it really gets going, could create what's called derecho, which, by the way, caused a lot of problems over southern New Jersey. As this hot and humid weather pattern returns, the threat for these type of thunderstorms will return with it. Now, it won't be every day, but the threat of one developing will be present from tomorrow all the way on through this weekend. So we're going to have to keep an eye on this weather pattern and exactly what happens with these little disturbances that can wreak havoc for the northern mid-Atlantic. Taking a look at the infrared satellite picture, you can see clear skies throughout the entire region. Those clear skies are expanding into the Ohio River Valley. Any thunderstorm development that is developing over the Great Lakes will dive south and east towards the southern mid-Atlantic and remain south of the northern mid-Atlantic, which is where we happen to be in the New York City and Philadelphia metropolitan area. So let's take a look at the European model guidance, which again has been the most consistent model guidance on the Penn State EWAL website. Here we are for this evening, and you can see our trough is lifting north and east. Our ridge is taking hold over the northern mid-Atlantic, and thus that's going to force our warm front to the north and east and return our more humid weather pattern into the northern mid-Atlantic. And you can see that at the mid-levels, the wind's coming from the southwest and west, driving that warm front north. I don't expect any precipitation, but I do expect a marked increase in humidity. By tomorrow, that warm front is well to the north, and we're going to be under this northwesterly flow at 500 millibar pattern, should I say. But at the mid-levels will be in the southwesterly flow. And what that basically means is that disturbances at the upper levels are going to dive from the Great Lakes towards the northern mid-Atlantic, while the heat and humidity will be pumped in from the Mississippi River Valley and Tennessee River Valley. Basically, that translates to temperatures in the lower to mid 90s for highs, especially away from the coast or along the immediate coast. You could see a sea breeze, keeping temperatures in the mid to upper 80s, and will be under a constant threat for an isolated shower or thunderstorm as disturbances dive from the Great Lakes into the northern mid-Atlantic. And that pattern pretty much will remain in place all the way on through this weekend and into early next week. Now, by Monday, we finally get a strong cold front building into the northern mid-Atlantic, producing widespread showers and thunderstorms, and temperatures get knocked back down into the mid to upper 80s. The humidity will remain high on Monday, but that cold front will bring a marked change in the weather pattern, allowing a trough to dig into the northern mid-Atlantic for next week and bring temperatures back a little bit closer to normal in the mid to upper 80s, possibly a few lower to mid 80s along the immediate coast, with a decrease in our humidity. So for the most part, our heat starts to build back more towards the plains and towards the Mississippi River Valley and gets suppressed away from the northern mid-Atlantic. However, don't expect this pattern to remain much longer. By the end of next week, we should see this trough start to lift out and this ridge start to reestablish itself from the plains to the east coast. So we start to see a break in this heat wave by next week, but we remain under the threat for a return of the heat wave thereafter. So that's your forecast for today. I hope everyone has a great 4th of July out there. I'm your meteorologist, Stephen DiMartino. You can follow the latest weather information at nynjpaweather.com and nynjpaweather on Twitter and Facebook. Have a wonderful weekend. Stay safe out there.